Shomcha? Good, Sadiq, ma shomcha?
Doing well.
Wonderful. Eitan, very nice. Eitan, how you doing? Nice to see you.
Why can I not see it? How can I see everyone?
You put it on whatchamacallit? Put it on gallery.
Yeah.
And
Okay, I'm gonna spotlight the Rabbi Rebetzin, and we ask that everybody mute themselves so that they can get going. And I don't know the format that Rebbe and the Rebetzin have in mind. If they want guys to be able to ask questions at some point, just let me know, and then I can tell and allow people to unmute themselves.
Wow, Sandra, very nice. Nice to see a list of you guys. Very nice. Really a nice treat for us. Anyway, what we want to talk about is, first of all, the first thing is marriage is great. Not everybody had that experience, so that's why we need to say that first. A lot of people have had not the best relationships and models and things that they've seen, but just want to tell you, with God's help, we're going to have a 43rd anniversary this in 2 weeks, and marriage is great. I just want to give everybody that heads up. But
we'll give you a little tip, a little hint that it doesn't necessarily start out that way. Even though you think that you're going to be in bliss right off into the sunset, it takes work. It just takes work, and nobody likes to do work. It's like we want easy, we want sweet, fun, but you got to be prepared because it's growth.
Right.
Growth doesn't just happen.
Look at me. I want to see the guys.
Good.
Okay, fantastic. That's much better. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is something called Imago. It's a system that we use.
First of all, anybody heard of it? Anybody heard of Imago? No? Okay.
Okay, that's good enough. Even if some have, but
so you can't
yeah, whatever. It's good enough. I just want a shout out over there for Mr. Margulis, Dave Margulis, who is Be'ezrat Hashem, the Chatuna Bismano Ube'it Itu Bismano should be Hashem coming up in the next few days. He should be able to buy it. Neman B'Yisrael.
Okay.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Okay, good. So anyway, so there's a system that we like using. We do couples counseling. We've been doing it for about 10 years. And there are definitely certain cycles that we've seen and certain lessons that we've learned. Anybody who's interested, I have a WhatsApp group. I give 1-minute messages every day.
Called Marriage Minutes.
Marriage Minutes. Everyone's welcome to, I may just put it on my status one of these days so people can join in. Anyway, so there's a system that we learned that we find extremely helpful, excuse me, and it's called Imago. It was made up by a fellow named Harville Hendricks, and the system works basically like this. I'm going to give you like a general rundown, and then we're going to try to apply it. The general rundown is, picture in your mind, I was going to do the whiteboard, but I'm not so good at that kind of technical stuff. Picture in your mind a square and a circle. Split the circle in half and split the square in half. All right. And then you have the circle and the square sitting next to each other. Right. The square is the guy and the circle is the woman. The square are the parts that face each other, are the parts of how they interact. And the parts that don't face each other are the parts they're kind of not necessarily communicating. Right, that really are kind of going on what we would call behind the scenes, right? There's going to be a list of things that happen between the two of them, that which they are kind of like facing each other, and then the things that are not happening between the two of them, which are behind the scenes, which are what's really going on for them. All right, so I'll give you an example.
Let me just
Sorry,
clarify the visuals
Yeah.
again for a second, right? Square, circle. Half the square is touching half the circle. So those are the way the couple are interacting, like a Venn diagram, except that there's not so much overlap. We're not talking about overlap. And then the half that's facing away from the circle and this half of the circle facing away from the square, those are the parts that are like more unconscious. Those are the parts that like are not interacting with each other, on a conscious level. But the example is really going to make a difference much more than the visuals.
Right. You want to give the example?
Okay, so I'll first give you an overview of what this means. Basically, anybody's behavior affects somebody else. All right. Mute, please.
Yes, please mute.
Mute.
Okay, no problem.
Can you mute everybody? Or only-
¿Qué problema?
Somebody's talking.
Just a second. Yeah, Joseph, are you there?
Can you mute?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Everybody's
I'm here,
behavior-
but I'm muted myself, so.
Okay, just and as
Okay.
long as everybody else. Everybody's behavior affects somebody else, right? Anything you do in relation to somebody else, they can then feel like, well, you did this to me, you did this, you didn't do this for me, you ignored me, give me too much attention, whatever it is, everybody is affecting each other in the couple. And sometimes they're affecting each other in a negative way. And the more they affect each other in a negative way, the more that the other person does something that affects the other partner in a negative way. And that cycle is what keeps things going. And that's the cycle that we, want to identify and break. Okay, so now an example.
I think so. Actually, I'm just going to follow from what my wife said. So this is the thing that most of us in relationships, not only in marriage, deal with, but for example, we'll deal particularly with marriage.
But it could be boyfriend, girlfriend, it could be,
It could be your boss. It could be
your parent, your
yeah,
sibling.
this is a model which works in many situations, but we're going to focus particularly on marriage. So just before we get we're going to just talk about the parts of the circle and the square that are facing each other. So husband works, we're taking just an example. It could be a lot of different examples, and maybe we'll get a chance, not a lot of time, but maybe we'll try to listen to some other examples if you guys want to bring them up. The husband and the wife, she takes care of the kids, he's working, he comes home.
Wait, she could be working too, it doesn't matter.
Okay. He comes home, he's exhausted, and he needs some time. She's been home all day with the kids, and she needs his help. He says, I need some time, I need to just go to my room,
Clear my head,
and you got to give me a break, right? She says, I need you with the kids, I need your help. It's not okay. So what happens, again, this is the part that's facing each other. He wants more space. The more space he asks for, the more annoyed she gets. The more annoyed she gets, the more space he wants. He goes back into his cave or wherever it is, he gets silent. She gets more annoyed, she gets more upset. Again, it can go the other way. It's kind of just random in terms of just getting the system set up. All right. That's the cycle my wife was just talking about. And we all know that cycle in terms of our own relationships.
The other thing that happens is that not only does he do more of what he's asking for because she wants something different, but then she does something which is usually, in the typical example, is that she nudges more, right? He might withdraw more and she will just, you could go anywhere from screaming and hollering to, to just, annoying, just reminding and in such a way that he wants to shut her out more.
Right.
So that's the pattern. And everybody's got patterns. You can vary this pattern. It doesn't have to be only this pattern. For instance, and I always like this one because it happens so often, is that the guy is on his phone. Okay, not that women aren't on their phones. Believe me, I know how to be on my phone. But he's more on his phone, especially after he's been busy doing something else all day. And now it's like, I'm going to catch up. I need to relax. I need to just space out. I need to go.
Or he has to get back to his business, people that he hasn't been able to get back to all day.
Or Netflix or anything else, just on my phone. And the more he does that, the more she gets annoyed. And the more he wants to do it and just leave me alone, and she says, it's not fair. And then you can get into some really good fights on this one, get off the phone. No, I need it. What about me? You're ignoring me. And then there's just all kinds of vocabulary, all kinds of dialogue that can happen when they're in a disagreement about not spending time together, about having spend too much time with his phone or with his friends, acting a kind of little bit still like he's single, where she really wants him to act more like, you're my husband and, you should be here, not there.
Right. So what we want to do is, again, I'm sure this is a cycle that everybody on this call is well aware of. Now, the question is, how, with Hashem's help, can we break it? All right. So what we're going to try to do is shift And each couple is going to need to do it in the best of their way, best in the best of their ability, to kind of go back door. What I mean by back door is to realize that my wife is maybe getting upset, or let's say the wife, the wife is getting aggravated, annoyed, yelling, nudgy, whatever it might be. She wants something. So I'm going to try to back off of what I'm seeing and perceiving, or what the guy is perceiving, and look at what is the need that's fueling that activity, that behavior. Thank you. And also by him, right? She needs to see that he has something that's fueling his behavior. His needing to be on the phone reflects something. So the break we're going to look for in this particular system is not what are they doing, but what are they feeling and what are they thinking, right? Which again, it's a lot of work to be able to kind of stop that cycle from happening.
And before that, to stop blaming, because it's so easy to point the finger and say, she's the annoying, she's the nudge, she always wants something from me, she doesn't give me what, my space or my phone time or what I need. And it's easy for her to point the finger and say, he's being selfish, he wants to be with his friends, he wants to shut me out, he's not giving me what I need in the relationship. So the blame and the finger pointing is necessity to stop first. It means being responsible enough to say, regardless of, how this paints me, and it doesn't make me look good if I take some, blame, the blaming the other is only going to exacerbate the problem, make it worse, and keep you locked in the pattern.
Right. Let me just say that I'm involved within a certain, I'm involved with the rehab now. Some of the guys maybe know this story, don't know this story, but whatever. And one of the terms in recovery is to stay on your side of the street. All right. So it's a term that some of you guys don't know, but you want to stay on your side of the street. You want to be, what are you doing? How is what you're doing affecting things? Listen, we do want to take some questions. We're not going to have a whole lot of time.
No, we might talk. We're
going to try to make time, but it's to do it. Yeah. So let's see if we can take this step. So let's be assuming each one of them is kind of taking the responsibility to the best of their ability. Again, it's not easy to do. You're trying to take responsibility, and now they're going to try to see what are their needs, but more importantly, what are their partner's needs? What is it that the woman wants? What is it the man wants? And again, we're taking this particular example. It could be many other examples. So the husband then notices she needs caring, time. Go ahead, you be the woman. Attention. I would normally do this with you guys, but you'll have to excuse me. We're going to just kind of, make it more functional. All right. She wants attention, caring, time, communication. All right. So
and she wants to feel the most important,
right.
More important than the phone, more important than his friends, more important than his job. She wants to feel important.
And guys, if I can just say this, my wife and I have been doing this for a little while. This phrase my wife says again and again and again. And we as husbands, future husbands, have to know that our job is to make our wives feel they're the most important person in the world. My wife definitely is. Sometimes she may not feel like that with me, but hopefully most of the time she gets the message that she's totally number one. But that's extremely important. So again, when she's getting all worked up and you or the husband, whatever in this picture is like, oh, leave me alone, you realize she has a list. And if you realize there's an extremely important list, and until she gets some of that list met, she's not going to let go, right? She has those needs. Okay, now let's do the other way. Go ahead. You're going to see what I need. You're going to see what does the husband need? Or you can say what the husband needs.
Okay, so the husband he does need defrag time after being busy all day. He does need just, space, like not to have to walk right into a balgan of a house, and not to be on all day at work and then on all evening, at home. It's asking too much. It's a little too much, right? You're going to burn out. And we have a Rav, Zeichel Tzaddik Bracha, who was our shadchan, who used to seriously tell us, this was dozens of years ago, he stopped on the other side of the road before he came home. He took deep breaths, composed himself, had his thermos of coffee, and was able to walk into the house a different person and able to pay attention and be present for the wife and kids and be a husband and a father and not just, his own bag of needs.
Right. Also, he needs respect, right? He needs to feel like,
Number one.
he also feels needs
Respect.
to, yeah, for a man, it's respect is very, very big, and needs to feel like he's being, that what's important for him is also important for her, because she can get emotional and he feels like, well, I'm not being heard. So therefore, again, that's his list, and that's his needs, and that's what she needs to be more aware of. All right. So this imago is to break the cycle of that fighting on this side of the square circle. Let them be more self-aware of themselves. Let them try to let go of the cycle of fighting. Let them go back door, so to speak, to the side, so they know that each one has a need, and until that need will be filled or at least addressed, it's not going to let go. All right. Let me just ask, can we pause now for a second?
Questions?
If anybody has any questions, you could either write them or speak up.
Right, we don't want this to be theoretical. We want this to be very lamaisa, because it is very lamaisa. And the hardest part is to just compose yourself, think clearly, be aware, and then the other part is to figure out how to communicate it more respectfully, more kindly, with the other person feeling like they're in the picture. And so it would be like something like, I get it. I really know that you've been home all day and you need me, and I really want to be there. As long as you verbalize it, I really want to be present. I want to be there for you. If I have my 5 minutes, I'll be fine. And if the guy, and
check with her.
Right.
Is that okay?
Mm.
Is it okay? Can I get? Yeah, hold on a second. We got his question from Dave.
Help yourself.
The question, everybody can see the question on the chat, right? But before we just get to the question, David, just want to make sure my wife got the point totally across.
And it does dovetail into what we're talking about, because the healthier you are, the healthier will be the marriage. The better your middos are, the better will be the marriage. You're trying to rise to your best self. And unfortunately, sometimes in a marriage or in any relationship, it can bring out the negative sides of you. And nobody's going to feel good about that. And you're not going to feel, like you're healthy. You're not going to feel like you're, who you want to be in this relationship.
Right. Also, David, what I would suggest is like this. Mesilas Yesharim says that in general, when a person's under stress or under attack, Chalila, from the Yetzer Hara, is the worst time to try to work on a certain midah. You want to be working on that midah before. So when you walk in the door and you tell your wife, oh no, I need space now, so you pick the wrong time to work on a midah. The midah is definitely being self-aware, calming yourself, being centered, but you could definitely be paying a very high price if you decide at that moment, I need to be working on myself and centering myself, if she's going to be the one who's paying the price. All right. So there's no question you want to be focusing on your healthy self, but that's your work that you bring into the marriage. And
in every situation, you got to look at both parties. Nobody's ever one-sided at fault. So just like the guy, can come in and say, I really need a few minutes. Do you mind? The wife can say, I really want to give you a few minutes, and then I really want to tell you a few things, but I'm going to wait. And I hope you had a nice day. You want to start out with some caring words, without piling on the problems right away, there's a strong tendency, you've held them in all day. If you haven't shared them with somebody else, then you want to share them with your partner as soon as possible.
Right. I just want to point out what my wife just did was much more concretely say, like, so how do you do this? Like, what does it look like? Right. You want to be thinking, what would my wife appreciate? At the same time, I kind of relate, like David, to say, how do I take care of myself? At the same time, I'm taking care of her. as opposed to, I really need to take care of myself. I wish he would give me the space. Or she's saying, I need his help without getting a sense of, okay, we're doing this together and we both have to figure out how do we both get our needs met and be aware. And I just want to add one thing. What is you have to be very careful about is I'm working on the relationship, but you're not. I'm trying to the blame. It's you want to stay on your side of the street. You know, I'm doing my best to be flexible and you're being rigid. If you approach that issue in that way, oh, someone was very kind to try to, let's see.
Oh, great.
Nice.
Imago, thank you.
Terrific. Okay, so you got the husband, wife. Okay, whatever. It's a little bit of picture. I guess there are places to go. If somebody wants to post that one, either here or on the chat. Again, you can see a lot of this online, but we just found it to be extremely, particularly helpful, which is why we wanted to go about it. But yeah, I'm sure you could find similar charts on it. Any other questions?
It doesn't have to be in writing, so you can unmute and ask a question if it's probably simpler. And
We posted it. Okay, fine.
I just want to mention though
Go for it.
that
Rabbi,
Yes, go ahead.
how are you? It's Sammy.
Hi, Sammy.
I hope to see you in Israel next week. I'll actually be there.
Looking forward. That's wonderful.
Quick question. Would you recommend this class for someone who's single?
Yes.
yes,
Just in case you were wondering. Yes, because it affects all relationships. Again, you have a boss, and the boss is so hard to deal with, right? And you want to learn what is it your needs, what is his needs, how to kind of get behind the scene with him, all interreactions. But we're talking about parents, that's much harder because there's a lot. But yes, it's a system that works in many levels on many different relationships.
and my husband had a situation just recently where somebody said, I heard your marriage classes in yeshiva, at this yeshiva here in Jerusalem, when I was single, and now I'm married, and now I understand what you're talking about. So it's kind of like planting seeds for when you might need this information in a marriage.
Got it. Thank you.
Right. Yeah.
More.
Anything else? Any other questions? We have more to say, believe me. Okay, so until you throw out the questions, you can just throw them out. Just speak up.
Just take yourself off.
Yeah, take yourself a mood and go for it.
Yeah.
But for the meantime, again, you're going to have the picture. I can personally be a little bit more theoretical. My wife is Baruch Hashem, much more like
Practical.
she's very practical. So the practical.
Can I ask a question?
For sure.
So I just want to, just because we just finished the fast over here in Eretz Yisrael, I noticed that when there's extra stress, like a fast, for instance, or anything, it could be any type of stress that someone's going through, that this is highlighted like way more, like meaning the need to just be left alone for the guy, or and probably the same way. I don't know how it works on the woman's side, but I know how I feel when I come in and I'm fasting, that it's like way overboard. Is that just physiological, meaning like I'm hungry, so I'm agitated, so like the way Rebbe was saying that, I guess the Rebbe that passed away was saying that that to stop and eat something before coming in, is that like the answer? And what do you do when you can't do that? Meaning, what do you do when it's a fast and things are a little bit crazier? Then how do you manage that? Is there an expectation for our spouse to be understanding because it's a fast day, or because there's some kind of extra thing going on, or is that more of what's going on behind the scenes in my head that isn't necessarily the reality of how it should be?
No.
There are a few different questions. There were a few different questions.
Few
Yeah.
things, but I just want to say, share it. Say it. She doesn't feel your physiology. Maybe she's not fasting. Maybe she fasts well. She doesn't know what's going on inside your body. So share it and say, look, I'm really, kind of like not myself. I'm really like agitated because I'm just so hungry. So please forgive me, please understand. I'm not myself right now.
Also, I think planning ahead, Yosef, is extremely important, because when you were speaking it out, I think pretty much all of us do this, especially all the married guys, do this every Erev Shabbos. Every Erev Shabbos, there's extra tension on our homes. Hopefully not. If the other guys that went to Lachance, remember that In Lejeune, somehow they had this incredible spirit where everything was calm, but for basically all of us, Erev Shabbos is hard. So of course you want to plan ahead, but you want to be thinking, what does my wife need on Erev Shabbos? So for example, I'm not saying to my horn, but
Just don't forget to ask that question.
right. That's extremely important. You guys heard that?
Anticipate that you know what she needs, that the house is flying or the kids or need a bath, whatever. Ask, what could I do that would be helpful? That goes a long way. That is really appreciated.
Right. For example, but like I do the dishes I try to do the dishes here in the house, right? They're helpful
Fridays.
on Fridays. It's helpful. I know that it's helpful. So I want to be, because I know there's a lot of pressure, but it's the same idea. Again, I don't have to elaborate because then you guys all know what I'm referring to. You want to be thinking ahead of what is it that is going on for my wife, and how do we usually play this out? What kind of fighting, what kind of tension happens, and how do I avoid it? But at the time, it's extremely hard. Like I was saying to David before, when it's actually happening, you just got to. That's where mitos really come in. That's when your mitos works are going to be really tested. How much you can be flexible? How much can you push yourself? How much can you handle, like just being maybe yelled at or being, kind of snapped at or being nudged, and be able to say, listen, we got it. We want to get past this.
I want to say one word before it's 8:30 here over here in Israel, which is the ending time, that there's expectations that often get in the way. If the wife expects the husband to do dishes and he's not doing it, I'm not capable, I can't get to him right now. Or if the husband expects the wife to do all the cooking and all the kids stuff, then that's going to get in the way, because maybe the other person doesn't have those expectations or doesn't appreciate those expectations. So talk it out. Talk out. What do you expect from me? What do you think, is my role? What would you like from me? If the more you can talk about it and the more you can identify what your expectations are, the more it can decrease the stress between the partners.
Right. Okay. Any other questions?
Hold on.
Yeah. Amios, you'll have to call this one for us because we were told that we can just, we got stories, we got, but if people are busy and we don't want to, we won't want to,
It's a half hour, it's a half hour.
Right.
So we'll
so whatever's, guys, like we're saying.
We're okay to keep going as long as the Rav and Rebetzin are willing to. I mean, we have 23 people on the group, so.
Well, I just want to say, if anybody needs to drop out, thank you so much for coming by. Love to, and also there's going to be a whole series with other Rebbeim. If we can be of help in any way, shape, or form, you can just send me a message and we'll be glad to talk or clarification or, all right. So we're surely open. Anyway, so now we're going to the second half of the program. You want to?
I really want anybody else to identify an imago scenario where.
First of all, Rebbe, it's so good to see you, and Rebetzin, it's so good to see you. Mayor Bendelstein, I don't know if my name comes up, but
No.
What's your face?
Man, just show your face if you can, so my wife can know who's who. She doesn't.
I know your name.
I'm driving in the car right now, but
There you go.
there you go.
Okay.
Okay.
So the question I have, it's easy, I guess, to like when you identify something that aggravates like your wife, then it's easy to work on that thing, but like what I find to be difficult is when something to me doesn't bother me. Like, let's say a mess, right? A mess is like, I think, an easy example that like men typically don't get distressed from a mess, right? But a woman can look at be like, how do you allow this room to just look this way, right? Like, and I'm like, listen, if I knew that this room was an issue, I'd help, you know what I mean? But I don't necessarily know it, so don't get upset at me for not noticing it, right? And I find that to be like hard, where it's like and this is where I kind of tell my wife all the time, is like, if I knew that it aggravated you or you knew that it aggravated me, we would, like, just understand that if I knew this, then it wouldn't be this way, because I would never want to hurt you in any way possible, right? Or aggravate you in any way, but I don't know. So since I don't know, just like kind of like be a little easy, take it easy on me, because I didn't realize, right? I didn't realize the room was a wreck, or that the kids needed a diaper change. I'm not in it. I'm not in it. So,
Right. So that's really where expectations are coming in, because if she's expecting you to clean up because you're there in that room and you're on kid duty at the moment, then, then that's where she's going to get riled up and upset. And, it's like, what did I do? What did I do? I thought I was doing a great job. So the expectations need to be communicated. If she tells you, please clean up the room, it really bothers me when it looks like this, then you'll try your best. You'll give it a shot. It's like, okay, it won't be perfect, but it'll be less messy.
Yeah. So I agree. I agree with that. Like the logic makes sense and it works a lot of times, but I think that women, this is more of a woman thing. I think that they are less vocal on what needs to get done. It's more like, you should know.
Read my mind.
Yeah, like, so having the conversation is like, hey, by the way, like, and I've had that, like, hey, like, just you let me know what needs to get done and I will make sure that it needs to get done. Sometimes that in itself can cause something, because it's like, well, I shouldn't have to tell you that this room looks the way it does. Like, you should just know it. And I think that's like, look, now, like, I've been married for 7 years, and it's, I know certain expectations. I know what a mess looks like now, but things come up.
Only took you 5 years.
Yeah, it only took you 5 years. But I'm saying it, like, those type of things come up a lot, right? Like, where it's like, you should just know certain things, right? Like, and
So, Mayor, one of the things that I am very involved with when we talk with couples is to try to help the guy understand that he needs to learn a little different language, because very often, and this is something that we live through ourselves in our own marriage, very often a woman will explain something or say something in words that she understands, but the husband doesn't. And the husband needs to learn a kind of a different language, a language of frustration, a language of disappointment, a language of feeling alone. And so she may say something like, and I'm not saying this is what you never clean up. She'll say something like a pot shot like that. You never clean up. And you spend the time like defending yourself. Like, what do you mean I never clean up? Like, I cleaned up yesterday and I cleaned up Motzi Shabbos. And like, what do you mean I never clean up? So men get lost in the discussion of the words and the facts, right? As I often say, like, we become lawyers, right? And when you hear that, you never clean up, you may want to answer, but you really should know that that's a clue. She's talking now to you and saying, Mayor, it's hard for me having the house dirty. I feel like I'm always doing it, and I feel like you don't put in your part. So you didn't hear it. She didn't say those words, but you put up your antenna and you say, wow, exactly. All right, Mayor. So that's what you want to do. And
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Instead of being like, listen, don't expect it to be verbalized the way that you want it to be verbalized. Almost like give the benefit of the doubt on everything. Like, oh, she's saying that, no, it wasn't an insult. What she really means is like, I've been doing my fair share. I don't really feel like you, and I'm saying it as best as I can, but I'm stressed out right now. And that's kind of beautiful. Beautiful. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
But there is an expression, you're only as good as the last garbage you took out. I'm just saying that's a joke. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure.
What's with tones? Tones seems to be a thing. It's
Tone
not
of
what you
voice?
said, it's the tone.
Tone of voice. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't hear tones the way my wife hears tones.
No.
You gotta be musical.
Yeah, women hear
And
tones.
I am
Wow.
musical, and I certainly don't speak in tones.
No,
But
women
somehow
hear
they're
tones. Wow.
Okay, but I'll tell you a tone where the man is expecting the tone from the woman. And I'll give you an example of a couple we recently, worked with, where the man says, you don't respect me. You don't talk to me like you respect me, and I want to feel respected. It's disrespectful the way you're talking to me. And she said, no, that's not true. I'm saying this very respectfully. I do respect you. So here it's the man's obligation to say, I need you to say it like this, or I need you not to say that. And because those are the things that trigger me and make me feel disrespected. Nobody knows the other person's triggers because nobody's lived through the other person's past, until you know them well enough, their parental, their family of origin, like how the parents spoke to each other and what was the respect and disrespect. Those are the things you've got to teach each other.
Right. Yeah. I can't stress that enough. I think guys, because of the fact, like we were talking, Mayor, they don't understand the woman's language. So often there's a sense of like, she just doesn't understand, or you don't understand her. And you wonder, like, what in the world, what does she want? Like, why can't she just leave me alone? And
Sometimes, I feel like sometimes, I'm not even married, but I feel like sometimes women themselves are not sure what they're trying to say.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
Nobody, everybody's in that position sometimes. And that's why communication can help you to clarify what you're feeling and clarify how to say it. And it takes practice. It really does take a lot of practice because we're not in tune with ourselves all the time. The more stressed, the more, aware. Some people have a high emotional EQ and some don't. But the question here is a really good one, that sometimes it's the man that needs a cleaner house and the woman that doesn't want it, doesn't feel like cleaning up, or she doesn't see it. It doesn't bother her. So it can happen either direction.
Right. All of these issues can go both ways. And in both ways, you have to know that, for example, I'll just give you an example. It could be that in her home, and I don't know if this is the case, could be in her home that everything had to be picture perfect, right? And therefore she, at a certain point, checked out. I can't have the pressure of having a home. Or she had a home where it was just, there were a lot of kids running around and it was always kind of like messy. So until you're like, she has a story. Now, what would you suggest about how to get her to, he needs a clean and she doesn't either care or, so what would you say?
Okay, so again, we'll talk about a particular couple where this was the issue. She doesn't want to do it herself. She wants to do it with him. It's like, there's going to be an activity that we'll do together, and the man has to educate her as to what's important to him. Maybe he came from the picture perfect house and that's what he's used to. And he wants to walk in and everything be in order and not be a balagan mess. And, he's going to have to modify because sometimes that's absolutely 100% responsible, but, roll up your sleeves, get to work and do it too. It's like, it's not all, but it is a matter of saying, listen, I want to make you happy. You want to make me happy. This is something I need. This is the only way I can think straight or feel good in my own home is when things are things are nicer and put together.
Right.
So can you try a little harder? Can I help you? Can we hire help? Can we hire help so that it happens at least on a weekly basis to have this place really shaped up? So, every single difference in every single couple can be an issue, whether it's the cleanliness, whether it's what else?
Right. I do want to make a point that can get lost in these sort of situations. In our opinion, whatever the issue is not as important as the communication about that issue. So you're having a clean house is extremely important, all right? But how that's going to be communicated is going to make all the difference in the world between whether or not you're together or you're not. Because you may end up getting and I'm not particularly addressing you right now. I'm saying whatever that thing is that we really feel we need and that we want, right? But if our antenna is, I need to have a clean house. It was somebody I've been working with for many years, and he's a real Yeki. Until I was able to try to, with Hashem's help, to encourage him to be like, it's all about the relationship. Keep the focus on the relationship. That's what's really going on. So you may end up getting a clean house and lose your connection with your wife, in which case, in my opinion, you lost. So there's almost, and I would say one thing that in particular that it relates to his money issues, right? Money issues, we're not going to talk about right now, I don't think.
Too loaded.
It's very, very loaded. A husband and wife do things money much differently, and it can be a tremendous source of tension. But what is, in my opinion, essential is that you're focusing on the relationship so that you're heard and she's heard. So that, again, you both want to be able to express, like David said before, like you're working on yourself. So hopefully with a good partner, and if it's not like this, then it's good to talk to somebody about how to work that out. If you feel like your partner literally can't hear you, but you want to be both hearing backstory, right? His backstory was, whatever, I'll give you an example. I'm an American kid and grew up upper middle class. And my parents were pretty like free flowing with money. My father kept an eye on things, no question about it. My wife's parents are one of my mother-in-law, she should be well. One of the people came from Poland, a different reality, right? So two different orientations to money and many, many aspects of that. So for us to kind of like get closer to how we're going to do this together, but in a way that we both felt respected and we both felt heard, is really, in my opinion, like that's the essence of this thing. So you want to be knowing there's a backstory and knowing that what you're really working for is the relationship. That is the center stage, and everything else is important but secondary.
And making the other person feel like they are the most important person to you in the world. I hate to say fake it till you make it, but it's like you might need to like kind of fake it until they do become the most important person in the world. And it makes sense that if you go into a relationship where you've had 20 plus years where there wasn't this person in your life and other things are more important to you, yourself, your friends, your job, and then all of a sudden like, oh no, now I've got to be home. She expects me for dinner. I can't go out with my friends the same way as I used to. It's really it's a big transition. It's a huge transition. Some people.
And even if you've been married for many years, it's still very hard. We know somebody that, Baruch Hashem, the situation is now much better, but he used to have like his week out. Good question, Yosef. I'm on the Neveh chat. My name is there. And feel free to send a message out. I would say that's the best way. If Yosef has any other suggestion, I think that's the best to get me on the. I have my info on the Neveh, couple of Neveh chats.
Rebbe could post a little thing now to the Neveh inner circle group, just letting everybody know how to reach out to Rebbe. That's probably a good idea. In case Rebbe's not saved in their WhatsApp and they don't know who Rebbe is.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Fantastic.
Right. And I really do recommend that 1 minute a day for his marriage minute advice. You'll get all of this over time and some repetition, but just till it sinks in, because it's a whole avoda to figure out how to be a good spouse, how to make your partner feel loved and cared for, and how to communicate well. It's a huge worthwhile endeavor.
Right. And we are bombarded in a world of superficiality and of relationships that are not healthy. Hollywood portraying things which are totally the opposite of what a loving relationship is all about, a Torah relationship for sure. And, to gain some of those skills, it's essential, because if not, we're listening to just to real like nonsense, things that just don't make sense. Like they don't. I'll send it now. My wife will talk. She'll give you now. You'll get to hear some more wisdom from my wife.
Yeah.
Rebbe, please put the link to the 1 minute marriage minutes onto the Neveh group as well, if possible.
Okay, I should put it in the inner circle.
Yes, please put it in the inner circle.
And if there's any other groups, you can
I'll spread it around. I'll spread it around to the other groups from there.
Okay, fantastic. So I'll put on my info and get that link.
Right.
Thanks, Rebbe. Thank you, Reverend Rebetzin.
Yeah, I think it's enough time. We'll hold it up here, guys.
Yeah, I think we could held you long enough.
Yeah, definitely.
For me, it's the hardest because I don't know you. I don't know who's married, who's not married, how long you're married. and what your questions are and what your issues are. So, to just try to globalize is hard, but we hope we offered you something important and helpful.
Right. Thank you all very much. It's always, listen, I do know who you guys are, and it's really so nice of you. Some of the guys I don't, but in general, I know you guys. It's really very special to me. Even if I don't see your faces, do me a favor, guys. Just flip on if you can, flip on your videos for a second, so my wife gets to see who's who.
I haven't done my makeup, Rebbe.
Yeah, Sammy, you're always beautiful. Yosef, I think Yosef is one of Mayor's, again, Mayor, these are all the Gedolim pictures we have in the house. Yosef, I'm not sure. Yosef, off of mute, Yosef, you are?
I'm sorry, Yosef's Mother Pearl.
Okay, I'm not sure that we were the same
Jacob
time.
Hellinger from New Orleans. Wow.
By the way, Judah Schnitzler says hello.
Just one
Hi.
second.
Hello.
Is this Mr. Hallinger? Is this Rabbi Hallinger? No.
Hellinger, Jay Hellinger, Jacob Hellinger.
Wow.
Not rabbi, just a guy.
Rabbi Hallinger. Wow. Geschmack. You remember this guy?
Sure.
Wow, very nice. Rabbi Yosef, I'd be glad to talk. We'd be really a treat. Rabbi Eric, let's stay in touch.
And I'm very impressed that this many of you want to, grow in this topic.
Yeah, beautiful. Really beautiful. And listen, Avram Yosef has a very important, procedure to have all the Rebbeim
It's
kind
a
of
great
have the
idea.
chance. It's a lovely idea.
Lots of credit.
If at any point we, there's any need, if there's any interest in us kind of doing a little bit more, of course, we're willing to.
Very happy.
What a
I
nice.
could definitely see cycling the Rav and Rebetzin back into the loop. It's not so simple to get Rebbeim to follow schedule, especially with the impromptu miniseries that I kind of threw on them. So we definitely would want to have the Rav and Rebetzin back, and either to fill in when needed, or regardless to come again at the end of the cycle.
Yeah.
Hi, Rebbe and Rebetzin.
We love doing.
Yeah.
Hi, it's Yaakov. I was in and out of the shiur, but or whatever this you want to call this, but the stuff that I heard, it was really good stuff. I appreciate you guys doing this. Thank you very much, and thank you, Joey.
A pleasure.
Thank you for the.
Yeah, Joey, thank you very much. Good. So I'm going to post this now, and I'm going to put a link. And so nice. 7-6. But I got it. Oh, I got it wrong. Okay, I can't. I'm so bad at
All
multitasking.
right, Rebbe. Have a wonderful
All right,
day.
guys, take care. Rabbi Hallinger, you got to hold him.
I'm unmuted, so.
Aleichem. Keep up the good work.
Very good. Thanks so much. Yeah. Anybody can stay on, but I got to get a couple of minutes with Rabbi Hellinger. That's like, I haven't seen the guy in a while. So,
Years.
oh, David Mazel Tov. David has a Mazel Tov. Yeah, Simcha.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Mazel Tov, David. You have Shalai Nachas, Mr. Shem.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Rav Yosef, when were you there?
Who are we talking to?
You, Yosef. When were you in? When were you-
85 to 87.
Yeah, yes, you were before me. You were like, whatever. I got there in 96, 97.
Okay, way before you.
Yeah, like I'm a youngster, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we both are.
The marriage minutes too, though. You want the marriage minutes.
By
Yeah.
the way, Judah Schnitzler says hello. He's standing right
Oh.
next to me. Hold on
Oh,
a second.
lovely. Yeah, great.
Hey,
Hi,
Shalom,
Shalom,
how are
Judah.
you? You recognize me?
Oh, of course. Wow.
Oh,
This is one
I'm
of
so
our
happy to
late
see
guys.
you and your wife are still doing this thing, spreading chizuk. I was like, so he's the mashgiach here, and I'm like, that voice sounds familiar. Like I overheard you in the background. I'm like, I know that voice. I peeked over and I recognized you.
Yeah, really. He woke
I
me
miss
up
you
from
guys.
sleeping. I tried to sleep so many times. The guy kept bothering.
Yeah, he just wanted me to say hello to you.
Very
So,
nice, Judah.
Hi,
Very
it's good,
nice.
good seeing you. And
Wonderful to see you. Be Matzliach, which is a good
Yeah.
thing. Okay. Take care.
All right. I'll call
Yosef
you Red
will be-
because everybody else were, but I'll send you a message.
Okay, fantastic.
All right.
Very
Call
good.
through. Have a good day.
You too. Go too. No, Rabbi JJ. Wow, it's been a long time. How are you?
So how are you guys? Good to see you. I
Good.
just saw I saw the link like
I want to leave to let you guys speak, but I'm afraid if I leave, it's going to cut the call off. So I'm just
No,
staying
so
on
give
the
me-
sidelines.
so so let me give me the host.
Okay, 1 second. Let me make Rebbe host.
I was about to spill my guts out. I wanted to just come on, be in here. It's a group session.
Okay, I'll stay. I don't mind staying.
I'm kidding. And we're recording also. Maybe we could turn that off now.
Okay, let's turn off the recording. At least that. Oh no, now I can't turn it off. Rabbi Charlop has to turn it off.
I'm the host now.
Yes.
You have to.
Rabbi Charlop,
Yeah.
do you remember JJ Coleman?
Yes, of course. You do have all the Gedolim by you.
Okay, JJ Coleman is my new.
I missed you.
You know what?
JJ Coleman married my daughter.
Oh, really? Wow. Super sorry for turning that off by accident.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, JJ's a wonderful guy.
Yeah, about a year and a half ago, February 4th of 2 years ago. Yeah, they're married 2 years now.
Wow,
I also have a
lovely.
relationship with JJ. We used to speak quite often. Was he in Neveh 5 years ago or something?
Something
Yeah.
to that effect. Yeah.
Right.
Great guy.
30
let me
years.
turn this
30
off
years
here.
after me.